Guys, if you get through the end of this video, you will learn different strategies and different ways where you can regain control over your mind, overcome depression, overcome laziness, and you will find out the linkage between staying in bed and depression as well. And for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Edison Cordero. I will be joined along with Darren Morgan. We are the founders of Braun Lifestyle, and I would not speak on anything I personally don't have any experience in. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
It could be a different day, but it's the same, homie. How you look me in my eyes, didn't change on me. They done me dirty and I think they left a stain on me. They put the blame on me. So for your time up, go get it now and ain't no telling where you wind up. From the bottom, I went through hell just to climb up. When they get gangster, you do not got.
A lot of you at home, you're currently struggling right now when it comes to finding something to motivate you, finding something to drive you, finding that energy source that's going to get you out of bed every day, every morning. It's currently occurring more often now than it ever has before. Oftentimes when people stay in bed, they're not sleeping, they're just laying there. They're either laying there watching TV, laying there on their phone, or laying there filling their face with Cheetos. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you're unable to get out of bed in the morning and you can't find that motivation to actually get you up and get you moving, oftentimes that can be linked to depression. It can be linked to anxiety. It could be linked to lack of sleep or just pure laziness, in which I wouldn't necessarily blame laziness 100% because laziness has its underlying causes. You know, what's causing you to feel lazy? What's causing you to be lazy? It could be any of those contributing factors such as depression, anxiety, or just lack of sleep in general. Yeah. And all you're doing is you're not taking the time to acknowledge it. So because of the fact that you're not acknowledging it, you're not doing anything to fix it. Yeah. You're just associating yourself with someone who is lazy. Yeah. What would you say in terms of having struggles getting out of bed? Have you ever had a situation like that where you kind of struggled a little bit to even find the courage or the motivation to want to get up?
Every day, man. Every day when my alarm goes off and I have to start my day, and I just get up and do it. The thing is, right, one thing that pushes me to get out of bed, you need to like kind of wire in your head where it's like, all right, I do want to enjoy the bed, but I need to get something done so I don't feel as overwhelmed the next day. So you might want to lay in bed and push all your problems over, but eventually that's all going to stack up and you're going to deal with a shitload of fucking problems the next day, and you're going to be even more stressed and even more burdened. So might as well get up and tackle a little bit of the problems today so you're not as burdened throughout the week.
When you're in a situation like that, the night before, try to plan something exciting. Plan something that's going to get your energy levels high and something that you can look forward to. And hold yourself accountable for these things. It doesn't even have to be a big plan. Yeah. You know, you can plan to cook something you just found on the internet and be like, wow, that looks really good. I'm excited to make this tomorrow. Just making that distinction in your mind of, oh, I'm excited to do this tomorrow, or I'm excited to do this in the morning, is enough to motivate you to get out of bed because of your levels of excitement, because you told yourself you're excited. Yeah. When we went to Georgia to go pick up Braun, we couldn't sleep. I slept for 45 minutes or whatever. You slept for like 2-3 hours. Yeah. We woke up, still got the job done with maximum energy because we had something that was exciting that was pushing us forward. And what I'm going to say is, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, there's nothing exciting about my life. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm going through this. Oh, you don't understand, Edison. You don't know what I'm going through. Just laying in bed and planning out your day and actually visualizing it is enough to get you up. Even if you're literally just visualizing you getting up, going to the store, buying some groceries, coming home. That's enough for you to be like, all right, let me start getting dressed. Let me start getting ready. Or simply start the routine of every single morning making your bed. Yeah. As soon as you wake up, open some windows, open some blinds, get some sunlight in, so that way you're not stuck in a dark area. When you're stuck in a dark room, your circadian rhythm is typically disrupted. When you don't understand what's currently going on inside of you, you won't be able to understand why you're in a situation where you don't want to get out of bed. So I would first say also understand and get a better comprehension of what's going on with you psychologically, and figure out what's been happening within your life recently that's causing you to feel this lack of motivation, this lack of discipline, and this lack of energy in the morning after you've had a restful night. And if you haven't had a restful night, figure out how you could manage your time a little bit better so that way you can still get the maximum amount of sleep in, but most importantly, start your day. If you're someone who, as soon as you wake up, you look at your phone and then next thing you know, you're glued to it, going on Instagram 15 times within the span of 5 minutes, what I would recommend is as soon as you wake up, fight to not look at your phone for the first 30 minutes of you waking up, and utilize that 30 minutes to wake up, make your bed, brush your teeth, get your breakfast made, whatever the case may be, whatever your morning routine is that's not including your phone, and then utilize your phone as a reward once you've done everything you need to do in the morning. Once you get everything done and you've been productive in the morning, it's at that point where you deserve to look at your phone. Because if you don't do that, you won't develop the discipline, and your morning will consist of the same routine. You wake up, you turn over, you grab your phone, you look at it, next thing you know, you're stuck on it. And it's going to continue to cycle and cycle until eventually you end up in a position where you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, fuck, 5 years have gone by and I've done nothing with my life.
Yeah. And I want to loop back to something you said earlier. If you're having struggles getting out of bed because you feel like you have so many stressors in your life, like what you said is wake up and go to the grocery store and look forward to that. A lot of people are like, but man, but I'm broke and I'm going to go spend this so much money. And then I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to pay for this. It's try not to associate that goal with too many negativities. If you're always constantly thinking about the stressors in life, obviously you're not going to be motivated. You're going to sit in your comfort zone where you feel safe and relaxed. Right. So instead of thinking about the money, just think about, hey, let me go and do something today. And then you get kind of motivated for it. Because if you're constantly associating every little activity with the stressors in life, you're never going to want to do anything, because obviously humans want to avoid stress. Stress is uncomfortable. Stress is bad, right? That's what we're conditioned to think. So try not to avoid the goals that you have to do today or errands. Like, don't avoid it with stressors. Try to just see it as a journey that you're going to take and try to avoid that. And that'll help you get a little bit more motivated to get out of bed instead of lay in bed and prolong those issues.
From your perspective, when someone is struggling to find that motivation source,
okay,
what advice would you give them to find it either externally or internally?
The reason for if you're looking for any type of motivation, most of it is finding like your exact reason why. What is your reason for waking up in the morning? For example, I had a supervisor back in the day. He had a daughter, and that became his reason why for everything. When he didn't feel like waking up in the morning, he would think about his daughter, and that's his reason why he got out of bed. That's his reason why he clocked into work. That's the reason why he decided to go and lose weight. This is like he wanted to provide for that daughter of his. So you got to find your reason why. And it could be anything, you know what I mean? It could be trying to get your family out of a bad situation. It could be you just simply wanting to be happier, you know, just find your reason why you want to do it and then hold on to that reason why and always think about it. Another thing too is when you are faced with obstacles, don't see them as a giant obstacle, but see it as a lesson that you can use this obstacle to learn from, right? So it's like, okay, I am now struggling with this. How can I benefit actually from this obstacle, and what can I do to learn from it so I can better handle it next time? Don't get discouraged when you come across obstacles in your life. Obstacles are there for a reason, for you to learn and overcome.
I 100% agree with that. A lot of times people are lost. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people don't understand what they want to create out of their life. They don't know what they want to do. They think that the journey of life has ended for them and that there's nothing they can do to make things better. Oftentimes, when people feel lost, they see it as something that's hindering them. But what I would recommend is view the feeling of being lost that you're currently feeling right now as an opportunity to discover more about yourself. Because oftentimes, whenever something is lost, there's something to be discovered along the line. When things are often lost, we struggle to find it. The reason we struggle to find things is because we're so focused on the inconvenience of looking for it. But what I will say is this: when your mind is wrapped around the absence of things, they become a lot harder to find. Because you become a lot more frustrated while looking for it, and you start to overwhelm yourself with thoughts of where it could be at, which also alludes to why parents have a much easier time finding your belongings than you do, because of the fact that when you're looking for something, you're so focused on how inconvenient it is that it's lost and how stressed you are now because you can't find something, that all it takes is for someone that has a clear mind, that is not overwhelmed and boggled with the stress of looking for something, they'd be like, all right, let me see where it's at. They walk in there. Next thing you know, it's in the most noticeable spot that you'd even think to look at, or you might have glanced over, but because you were so stressed and you were rushing yourself, you didn't give yourself the time to actually scan and analyze the area. Same is to be said in life. You know, when you're lost in life, when you feel lost, a lot of people, they stay in the overall feeling of being lost because of the simple fact that They think they have to look for something 24/7. They think, oh, I can't find what I'm looking for. Oh, I can't find who I am. But in reality, just identify what your strengths and what your capabilities are.
Yeah.
Identify what your strong suits are. Identify what you're capable of and utilize that. Those are your strengths. Those are what you should be relying on when you feel lost. How can you utilize your strengths to your best ability? How can you utilize what you're currently capable of to the best of your ability as well, and use it as a way to propel you as opposed to using it as a way to repel you?
Yeah, and then I think too, like a lot of people get lost, right? They're on a path and they know where they're going, they're on their journey, but then something happens, right? Let's say they started a business, right? And during the business, they faced a hard economical situation where they lost everything. And so not only do they now lost a lot of their stuff, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to go in life. And that's when I would say it's always important to always change like your expectations of yourself and where you're going to be at during that moment. So be very reactive to what's going on around you and not always be like, okay, so my goal here was to be, let's say reach $50,000 for this month. Right. And something happened along the way where you didn't reach that. Right. So you're going to be swallowed in guilt almost. Right. And you're going to be like, man, I'm not ever going to hit this goal. What am I going to do? Well, it's always good to always like, all right, so this happened, right? So this situation happened to me. Now, how can I make the best out of this negative situation and still reach an obtainable, solid goal? So instead of just completely giving up on life, be like, okay, so I got fucked. Now let me change my goal. Instead of 50,000, let me try to hit at least 25 or 27,000. You know what I mean?
Find a different approach.
Yeah. So you just find a different approach. For example, let's make it in weight loss because this is way easier. You want to lose 15 pounds by the month, right? But then something happens where you injure yourself and you're out of the gym for a week, right? So obviously, like, okay, so now that hindered me greatly. You know, my metabolism is a little bit slower. So instead of 15 pounds, let me try to make that goal into 12 pounds and still make the bad situation of me getting sick into an obtainable goal. Things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out.
Which is also like alluding to that saying that goes, have a mind that is open to everything but attached to nothing. But also, you want to dissect your environment. You know, who's your friends? Who are you currently hanging around? Are they bringing you down or are they helping bring you up? Oftentimes, if you feel like you're lost and you're constantly around your friends, try to dissect the environment around you. Why is it that every time you're around your friends, you still can't find your why? You still can't find the feeling of fulfillment and you still don't understand exactly what you want to accomplish. Are the friends that you're associating yourself with, are they driving you? Are they motivating you? Are they giving you a reason to continue pushing forward? Or is the only time you hang out with your friends when you want to get high, when you want to get drunk, when you want to get fucked up and go to parties? Or better yet, the only time you hang out with your friends is when you just sit there and chill and watch TV all day and eat junk food.
Yeah. Your friends are like who you are in a way.
Entrainment. You know what I mean? Your environment creates your biochemistry in a sense. It alters your biochemistry. And it's like when we had Lewis on our podcast and he was talking about menstrual cycles for women. Oftentimes, if you realize it, when you have a group of women in a room together, entrainment sets in, but entrainment sets in differently. You'll notice whenever there's a group of women that's been in a room for quite some time and a certain period of time together, they start to menstruate on the same cycle. They menstruate around the same days. At the end of the day, when it comes down to this and you know your environment is a toxic one, you want to take action and leave that environment. You want to take action and find something to do or find someone to hang around that's going to uplift you and bring you up. And it's most important that when you escape an environment that's draining you, when you escape an environment that's been toxic to you, don't dwell on it at the end. Don't dwell on the past and wish that you can go back to it. Instead, a lot of people, when they leave a certain toxic situation, especially with relationships and whatnot, they fall into this mental trap of they start to think of everything positive that came out of the relationship or the friendship. But what they fail to realize, and usually I'll ask them this, I say, okay, I want you to think about everything positive, right? Which is not going to be hard because our brain will focus on the good.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, now I want you to think about every negative moment you've had in that relationship or that friendship. I want you to think about every single moment in that relationship or friendship where it wasn't happy, where it was mostly stressful, where it was mostly full of conflict, where it was mostly full of, not being productive. And I want you to tell me which outweighs the other. Was the relationship or the friendship more on the happy end? Would you say 95% of that friendship was happy or that relationship was happy? Or would you say about 20% of it, 30% of it was happy and healthy, and the remainder was painful and stressful. Usually they'll be like, yeah, usually about 30% of it was happy. And I'm like, okay, so if the negativity and the toxicity outweigh the happiness, why are you focusing so much on the happy things? And that was how I got myself out of that toxic job that I was in. Because every time I wanted to leave, I was so focused on, wow, I love this environment. You know, every now and then we'll have like a family type of moment where we all feel like family together. But then I thought about it and I was like, do I feel like family? Do I feel this happy every single day? Or do I feel this happy once a month, twice a month? And I'm only reflecting on the good. And then I came to the realization that, and because I told you all the time, that oftentimes I just felt like stressed. I felt like I was being enslaved by the company I was working for. And that simple thought was what was enough to convince me to walk away.
So you're always holding on to something, right? So a lot of times in the friendship situation, you're holding on to the idea that they're your close friends and you don't want to hurt them because, you care about them. But when you actually take a time to actually revise and analyze your friendship, you're like, damn, like these guys, they're never there encouraging me. They're always sitting there trying to pull me down. They're constantly in this negative environment. And the only times I ever feel good with them is when, I don't know, maybe you're like smoking weed or something. Like that's the only time you're having fun, playing video games or something. But every other point, when you try to mention to them that you're going to go and do this crazy thing, you're going to start a business, they're like, bro, like, don't do that. That's, you can't do that.
They're like, oh, wow, so you're going to take time away from your friend?
Yeah, or they're going to be like, wow, you're not going to hang out with me anymore, bro? Like, what's up with this? Or like, bro, like, you need to be, like, they're going to be like, bro, no, don't do it. That's risky, bro. Just sit here with me. We start working together. We live together. Or we can sit here, play video games, smoke weed all day. And it's like, no, bro, like, you're just supposed to be like, when I say I want to start a business, you're supposed to be there and be that tough friend, that tough love, like, all right, what's your business plan? How are you going to do it? All right, that sounds like a good idea. Are you ready for are you ready for it? And then like encourage you to push forward. Make sure you have everything thought out and not sit there and just instantly drag you down.
A real friend, when you tell them your business idea and you tell them how dedicated you are, they're going to look you in the eyes and say, don't let me hold you back.
Yeah, exactly.
A fake friend, they're going to look you in the eyes and be like, why are you acting like I'm holding you back?
Yeah.
They're going to make it an attack as opposed to an accomplishment.
Yeah, and then you're going to be there and you're going to be like, man, I don't want to cut him off. I've been friends with him since 9th grade. We've known each other since high school. It's like, yo, that's my boy. That's my brother. But it's like at the same time, like, yo, is he really your friend? Like, think about it. Is he really your friend? Like,
or is it just convenient?
Yeah, exactly. Or is it just convenient? For me, I only think I have 3 friends. Everyone else is people that I know and then I'm acquainted with. And then that's just how it is. Like, I don't like what people call like, oh, yeah, that's my best friend. It's like, I don't believe in best friends. I believe in friends. And friends are the people that will die for you and do anything for you. Everyone else is just people that you know.
Right. You gotta distinguish between best friends and best memories. A lot of times there's people you have great memories with, but they're ultimately the worst friends to have. But because of the memories, you think that they're the person you need to have for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
When in reality, they're just a leech that's going to suck all the blood out of you before you even realize it.
Exactly.
And it's going to come down to this. It's like, in life, there's going to be battles and there's going to be certain hardships that are going to tempt you to feel bitter. And they're going to tempt you to resort to things that will wreak havoc on your life ultimately. And you want to remain steadfast.
Yeah.
With a clear vision and a clear objective in mind. Failing to have a clear vision for where you want to go is no different than navigating through an unfamiliar road with no guidance. So the reason I'm saying that is a vehicle, think about this. A vehicle can only travel so far before it runs out of fuel and you have to refill the tank. Now, same is to be said in life. The longer you go without any idea as to where life is taking you, the more likely you are to lose that fuel that is currently driving you.
That's deep. You can't go through life without having a vision, a goal. Like, you can't just sit there and not know what you want to be in 5 years, not know where you want to go in the next year. Like, you can't just sit, like, of course you can, but then you're going to lose that spark, that fire, right? If you have no set goal or set vision where you want to be at in the next year, next 2, you're not going to improve because you have nothing to improve to. You're going to sit there, you're going to wake up, you're going to go brush your teeth, you're going to go to work. Yeah. You're going to come home from work, you're going to watch Netflix, you're going to go to sleep, and you're going to repeat. And you're going to live what people call an NPC life. And you will never be able to go anywhere you want to go in life because, one, you don't know where you want to go. You're just blind. So you need to open up that vision and have that clear path and where you want to take it. That's pretty deep, bro.
And say you're somebody that's like, oh, I don't need a navigation system. Oh, I don't need a map. I don't need guidance. I know where I'm going. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, you're willing to take the hard route, but now you pose the question of this. Say you are willing to take the harder route and not know where the hell you're going because you have no map set in place.
But where if you don't know where you're going, where are you, like, literally, where are you going?
Say eventually you end up in that same area where you were destined to go, where your navigation system was taking you. Think about all the detours, all the U-turns, all the separate alternative routes you're going to have to take. Think about how frustrated you're going to be throughout that journey. And I know some people that are going to be like, hey, I'm willing to be stressed. I'm willing to be frustrated to attain my goals. And I appreciate and I applaud you for that. I applaud you for wanting things to be hard and not wanting the easy way. But if I told you that all the answers to life, if the guidance that you needed to get you to the level you wanted to be at were readily available and at your disposal, but yet you choose to go the hard route and ignore all of those clear guidance signals, and not only that, ignore the people that are trying to best assist you, do you truly feel proud of the fact that you end up at the same outcome as you would have probably months or years prior if you would have just listened? Because think about this. Think about how much more shit you could have gotten done if you actually listened to your instinct and you said, let me use this navigation. Let me use this guidance to my advantage to get me to where I want to be at. So that way I can get more shit done.
Yeah.
But instead you spent the entirety of your time trying to figure out where the hell you were going because you had no idea. The reason I've been making this analogy too about someone navigating throughout their journey, not knowing where they're going, but somehow, some way, by some luck or miracle, ending up in the same outcome, or at least attempting to obtain the same outcome, is no different from somebody that believes they're going to be able to just fake it until they make it. Someone who lives their life trying to fake it until they make it would only continuously put themselves in positions to be disappointed on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and the people that fake it till they make it, they're gonna fall real fucking hard once the challenges actually hit their face.
If you feel like you're down and out, you feel like you're down on your luck, you're feeling depressed or sad, I would recommend personally what I've done to help elevate my mood when I was in those type of state of minds was go out in nature, be phoneless for a while, you know, just go out in nature, go for a hike. Hiking helped me a lot because, you know, it got me away from everything and everybody and everything negative too. So I would go for these hikes, kind of keep my phone as far away from me as possible. I would even listen to music. I would just listen to the sounds of nature and let that continue to move me. And over time, I found a very deep connection with just hiking and being out in nature. But it was because I saw that as my getaway. Yeah. And when you turn your getaway into something positive as opposed to something that might be ultimately detrimental, such as drugs and hard drugs in particular, and even alcohol, then you would find you have a lot more of a reason to give. Aside from that too, if you are finding yourself in a depressed state, try to view everything in your life with a purpose. View everything. View all the hardships in your life with a purpose. Be like, okay, this is happening to me, but what lesson can be learned from this? What can I utilize this for to ultimately come out in a better situation or a better standing? Find a positive purpose for everything that occurs in your life, because at the end of the day, the hardest moment of your life that you're dealing with right now is going to be nothing once you deal with another situation that's only harder. When you get faced with a battle that's only harder, guess what usually happens? You forget about the past situation that you told yourself was the hardest moment of your life. And I learned that too the hard way when my car got broken into. So, you know, there's certain things in life where you're going to be tested on a consistent basis. And, you know, you've known a lot of what I went through, and there's always something new. Yeah. So don't get too wrapped up on things that you can't necessarily control, and don't wrap your mind around the bad things that are happening, but instead find a purpose. Find a reason why you should learn from it, why you could learn from it, and what you could learn from it. And identify the sources of negativity in your life and do one of two things. Now, you're either going to reframe it or you're going to remove it. Find the negative forces in your life that's currently causing you to be in a negative state, and either reframe them as something better. For example, if you're feeling a negative type of vibe because you're working a job you hate, or if you're feeling negative because your income doesn't match what your blueprint was, as opposed to beating yourself up over it and bringing yourself down, reframe it. Say, listen, this is a part of the journey to success. My clear goal and vision is still aligned just so long as I'm putting the work necessary to get there. If you know you're not putting in the proper work, don't lie to yourself, but reframe it as something that you can learn from. And if it's negative, as in you have a toxic person in your life that's making you feel down, you have toxic friends, whatever the case may be, remove them. You would do no justice and no good for yourself in the long run by holding on to it. Holding on to it it's like basically holding on to an active grenade. Eventually, it's going to blow up right in front of your face and you won't even realize it. Or oftentimes, you understand the potential of danger that is brought upon by such a analogy like a grenade in your hand, an active one, but you choose to ignore it because you think that no matter what, things won't get better. You think that no matter what, the thing that you're holding on to so dearly, that toxic energy, that negativity, you think it's somehow going to bring you prosperity in the long run, when in reality, it won't be long before that ticking time bomb makes its move and decides it wants to blow up. And once it does, you won't be prepared to react in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I love your reframing thing. It's like what I spoke on before is like you need to let go of your past expectations, right? So when you're looking at yourself, like literally let go of the past expectations that you have when you come across those bad situations. You know, you got to always work positive towards, you know, making the best out of a shitty situation. So reframe is, I love that.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, even if you have to jot your feelings down in a journal, you know, letting your feelings out, you know, whether you have someone to talk to or not, writing it in a journal is a good way to release your anger, release your sadness, because you're at least letting your feelings and emotions out and you don't bottle it inside. And on top of that, you try to also force yourself into a better state. You know, don't define depression. Don't define the situation you're in as a depressing situation. Before you get to the point where you define yourself by calling yourself a depressed person, or you define a situation that occurred to you as something that's sad or something that's depressing, force yourself to be in a better state first. Force a smile on your face. Force yourself to laugh at a few things. And you would find that when you force a smile on your face and you force yourself to be in a happy state and you associate yourself with a happy person, and on top of that, you tell yourself this one thing, and I always say it, no matter what happens to me, I'll be fine. The more you repeat that to yourself, the more you'll realize that nothing can honestly have a negative effect on you, because you are going to be fine ultimately. If it doesn't risk your life, it is not worth giving up your life stressing about. So if somebody does not have a gun to your head and is telling you to be sad, it's telling you to cry, telling you to dwell on past shit and stress yourself out, then why would you put your own gun to your head and force yourself into that state? Why would you become your own enemy? Why would you become an intruder to your own mind?
That's deep. And then it's like always too, whenever you're feeling alone, man, like there's always people out there that you can talk to. Don't keep all this pressure on yourself. Eventually you're gonna have all this pressure, all this pain inside, and it's like gonna bottle up. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to a friend. And that's why I said, like, I don't, and not like, okay, well, maybe like what you call a best friend, but like don't be afraid to reach out to a friend and talk to them, because eventually it's going to eat away at your brain, eat away at your mind. And you'll notice most of the time, once you're able to fully just vent and expel your emotions and talk to someone, you're going to feel better.
That's right.
And because you're not going to have all that burden on your shoulders. So please, like, if you feel alone, if you have all this pressure and you find someone to talk to, let it be a therapist, some random person online, or like a friend, a family member, just talk to someone.
Think about this. Some people, they're in a depressed state because, you know, sometimes a relationship, especially a long one that they've been with the person for years and thought this was going to be my happily ever after, doesn't go as they expected. And usually there's turmoil in the end and your relationship failed and you're beating yourself up over it. Rather than dwelling on the past and thinking about how things could have been, instead attempt to gain an understanding for the situation that occurred. Acknowledge your faults and acknowledge the faults that were within the relationship. Take time to enjoy and work on yourself prior to getting into a new relationship. By doing so, this will teach you that through every hardship in life, there is always a lesson to be learned. And choosing to turn a blind eye to these lessons would only result in you walking into the same pain over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. That's deep, bro. It's like I know a lot of people that they struggle with, being hurt over a relationship they thought that was going to last longer. And then they go into and they're like, why do I keep going into these toxic relationships? What is going on? It's because they fail to do some self-reflecting. And most of the time they always blame the other person when a relationship is a two-way street, man. But it takes both to make one. So you have to look at, of course, the red flags from the other person, but also yourself, right? So there's a common denominator in your relationship, and that common denominator is you. So you always have to revise and see, like, am I doing something wrong? What could I do better? What can I change in myself to make a better relationship or come across a better relationship?
Yeah, like what could my approach have been to this situation that occurred?
Yeah.
A lot of people, they struggle with identifying their faults and how they contributed to a bad situation, because nobody ever truly wants to say that they contributed to fucking something up.
Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to take accountability for being the reason why things didn't go well.
Yeah. Everyone's always quick to blame the other person when it takes two to make one. So, like, do some self-reflecting. And yeah, of course, they could have been a bad person, but how did you contribute as well? Like, right. You know what I mean?
And instead of blaming somebody for all the bad things, say they were a negative person in your life, as opposed to just focusing on blaming them for the bad, blame them for the good. Blame them for the reason why you're currently growing. Blame them for the reason why you've learned a lesson that's going to be able to be carried with you throughout the entirety of your life, to help you avoid potential conflict in the future and potential pain in the future when entering new relationships. And aside from that, do some self-evaluation. Understand where you played a role in its overall deterioration. And then aside from that, understand that, as you mentioned, a relationship is like a two-way street. And without the necessary lines in place to distinguish between both sides of the streets, there's ultimately just going to end up being a head-on collision.
Yeah.
And that head-on collision will either result in one person being hurt or both parties being hurt and potentially a life lost.
Yeah.
Guys, if you guys learned anything from this, if we were able to help shed some light on some questions you've had or some ideas you've had, and on top of that, help with your current state of being, we ask that you like, comment, share, subscribe. Share this video with somebody that you think will be able to benefit from this. Most importantly, let us know how you found us and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
And yeah, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and drop in the comments, like a hard time that you've come across and how you overcame it, to help others too. So, like, if you've come across a hard time, just drop it down in the comments. Maybe you can help someone as well.
Guys, thank you for tuning into the Lion's Den. Remain a lion. Don't be lying.
Damn.